What's up everyone, Dan here. It just occurred to me after I did this video that many of you might be looking just for the Litepay interview with Ken Asare, and the link is in the description for the full interview. This video that you're watching is the full interview, but it also has me interjecting with some comments. So if you're not into that type of thing, you don't want to hear me talk, then I would suggest just clicking the link below. You can get the full interview below. Thanks for coming by, and let's get into the video.
3, 2, 1.
What's up everyone, Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, February 21st, 2018. Ken Asare, CEO of Litepay, doing an interview, and that's what I want to go over. This video might be a little bit longer than my typical, 5 to 8 minute. The interview itself was around 8 minutes, but I want to interject a couple comments. I can foresee some controversy amongst the Litecoin and crypto community with a couple of things that Ken said, but I want to talk about those things. So let's jump into this interview. Awesome interview, very interesting, and let's talk about it.
All right, on February 26th, coming up here, 41 countries are going to have access to Litepay merchant payment processing. Walk us through what this is going to enable them to do.
So, starting on February 26th, 41 countries, quickly moving to 70, will have access to our platform, which will allow merchants to be able to accept Litecoin and then have that converted to fiat currency. The reason that's important is that ultimately the way that these cryptocurrencies are helpful is that people are not going to buy them from an exchange. They're not going to go out and trade fiat currency for them. What they're going to do is they're going to earn them. And once they earn them, they're going to control them and they're going to be their own banks. And that's going to be super important. Not for people here, not for the 350 million people in America, and not for people that are generally banked, but for the 5 billion people who have a cell phone but don't have access to financial products, which makes it hard for them to save money and or pass money to the next generation.
Okay, so
I want to stop there because what he just explained is I don't want it to go without saying, extremely revolutionary, and it's partly what makes the time that we're living in so exciting. So I just want to underline that with what he just explained, that process of, people basically controlling their own bank is extremely revolutionary. And I also want to underline this video with Ken, in my mind is, on par with Charlie in the sense of they're visionaries, right? Their focus is on the concept, is on the innovation behind what's going on. Not so much, the opportunity and the money and the things like that. So keep that in mind while we're watching.
it sounds like it's targeting the unbanked here, but even too, we know there have been stories in America about how large of an unbanked class there is as well. So I just want to make sure we're understanding the differentiation. It's someone who is unbanked and doesn't have a credit card, or someone who is in a developing country that doesn't have access to the payment system that America does?
So I think that it's both. I think that this is an opportunity to help anybody who doesn't have a Visa card currently, or a bank account where they can receive payments and send them out. And I think that the thing that's interesting is that if you have a cell phone now, you have all of the power and can offer all of those services for yourself.
It's so interesting to hear this because you don't think of cryptocurrency as sort of leapfrogging fiat currency for accessibility for the unbanked population. You don't picture the cryptocurrency buyer or user as somebody who doesn't have access to a bank, right? This is a person who might have access to a crypto mine, someone who's very technologically advanced and likely does have a bank account. So this runs counter to the narrative as we know it of people who use crypto.
And so I think the reason for that is nobody starts from the first principles, which I think are super important to understand. And the base truth is this. This is the internet of money. So this is the equivalent of 1990 of the internet that we all use now, that this is broadcasted on. And
equivalent to the internet of 1990. Just keep that in mind, remember that.
The very beginning of it seems like a lot of different things to different people, but is actually an opportunity for people to build applications that can serve whole worldwide populations. That's the super critical piece here, but it's not It's not a way to replace fiat currency. It's not a way to replace the stock exchange. It's not something to invest in. It's not any of those things. What it is the very beginning of the internet of money.
It's not something to invest in. So that's the point that I believe may be a little controversial, but let's go on and we'll talk about that in a second.
Which is going to enable people to build applications that let people earn this different type of value.
Let me make sure I have this right. It's not something to invest in.
No, it's not.
Cryptocurrency is not something to invest in.
This is not something to invest in.
Litecoin is not something to invest in.
This is not something to invest in. This is not a way to get rich quick. This is not something to take your fiat currency and turn it into. That's not what this is at all. This is the very beginning of a new way of sharing and transferring value.
Right.
And the applications that we have now may seem like things that we have now, and they may somehow map to them, but that's kind of missing the underlying point, which is this is the first part of a very long road that goes from 300 million people being able to be banked to everybody with a cell phone being able to be banked with. There's literally 5 billion people today.
Right, so your product.
So a little contradictory, which is cool. I'm fine by it. I think this is just my opinion. I'm just putting it out there to you. Like I said, Ken is definitely passionate about Litepay. He's passionate about the technology. And I think he's taking the route of really kind of underplaying the opportunity that is there to invest in this. And there could be legal reasons for that. He could be taking the safe route, the safe play, focus on the technology, don't talk about price, don't pump this thing up. And, he strikes me as the type of guy that would take that play. And I completely respect it and I like it. I like it because I actually believe that we need to take a step back and focus on these things. Focus on the technology at hand. Focus on the revolution that is really beginning to take place in terms of payments and cryptocurrency, and not so much replacing fiat. Like he said, it wouldn't replace fiat. But if you really look back when the internet came into play, it's kind of like back then saying, don't invest in this. There's still a lot of problems. There's still, the market share right now is so small. It's so new. It's not so much something to invest in, and it's not going to replace mail and the way people communicate on the telephone. And if you look back at a comment like that, pretty much it actually does replace old forms of communication, the internet. If you invested in the internet and companies of the internet in the 90s, you'd be incredibly rich right now. So really what he's saying is on par with saying it back then as well. And that's why I say it's a little contradictory, but at the same time, I completely get it. I completely understand it. I respect it. I even like it. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh my gosh, why did he say this? Same thing of, why did Charlie sell his coins? I'm not gonna sit here and even worry about it because it doesn't matter, because we are in this what I call a revolution, because it is. I mean, we're in a fast-paced environment right now where technology and this internet of money of what he's talking about is going to transform the world that we live in. So let's keep watching.
In your service, what you're saying is not something that people are investing in, but rather a tool that allows cryptocurrency to engage with real fiat currency.
And that's the truth of it is that's what all of the products in the space are. It's just not obvious, and generally we haven't done a good job articulating that.
So what do you make of the...
We haven't done a good job of articulating that, because if you scour YouTube, if you even look at the majority of my videos, we talk a lot about price. We talk a lot about investments and making money and gains and going to the moon. And that's fine. It's fun because, listen, we are invested in this and we're passionately invested. But if we can really focus on what Ken is saying here and focus on the matter at hand, which is the technology and what actually is going on right now, and the opportunity that lies ahead, which he's talking about right now, I mean, that's really what we need to focus on. And as Charlie has mentioned plenty of times, price will follow.
Volatility that we've seen in some of these cryptocurrencies, from your standpoint, how do you look at that?
So I think that it's not important, because this would be like in 1990 talking about how the early internet companies were or were not working. They generally weren't. They were onto something, and now we can look back and see that we have all of these products that have been built on top of it ultimately. But
we can also look back and see all of the people that invested and took risks on that technology and how well off they are. And again, that's a little bit why it's a little contradictory with what he said about it's not something to invest in, because I think everybody knows that there's a huge investment potential. He might even know that. He just doesn't want to focus on that, and I think it's extremely wise.
But it's too early to tell, and it's not really important right now.
What are you saying is the part from the 1990s? Is it the blockchain technology that Bitcoin uses? Is it concept of cryptocurrency?
So it's the blockchain and decentralized distributed ledgers broadly. It's just the ability to coordinate globally without having to trust a third-party intermediary. That's the key to it.
Okay, well, certainly we mentioned a lot of volatility here. For people who want to use this, how do they take advantage of it? We have the rollout coming up here quickly at the end of February.
Yeah.
How do they use it?
So on the 26th, you sign up. This is a merchant service. So you're a business, you sign up, we verify you. We have very strict KYC and AML requirements. We operate as if we were regulated like a bank, although we are a self-regulating body right now. And once we sort you out and the type of operation that you're running, we can identify who ultimately the beneficial owners are. We'll allow you these tools to use a point of sale system to accept payment over the counter if you were doing a transaction, or an invoicing tool which will allow you to send an email to receive a payment in Litecoin and then make an election of how you want us to send that back to you.
So what do you mean you operate as if it is regulated like a bank? What do you mean by that?
So we have a compliance department that's our largest group of people right now. And the information that we collect is the standard information that you would collect if you were opening or operating a traditional bank account. And our actual record keeping and maintenance and compliance standard in relation to the governing bodies that do exist, like FinCEN, are exactly the same as traditional banks.
We've had people come out recently, of course. Lloyd Blankfein sat down with me not too long ago, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Elliott Management's Paul Singer, of course, who runs that major hedge fund, have come out and said, well, Paul Singer at least saying that he thinks the majority of these cryptocurrencies are scams. We hit on the volatility, but do you think that's a fair statement?
I think that all cryptocurrencies are not created equal. I think that the specific use case, I think that the actual people behind the development, I think that the actual company supporting them, I think that all of those things are very important. And I think that as this plays out, it's going to become a lot more clear who the people are that are building real products and real services and the ones that aren't. And an example of that is the guy who leads the development of Litecoin, which is Charlie Lee, is probably the most important engineer on the planet in terms of understanding this stuff. He quit his job. This is literally what he does full time with a great group of people at the Litecoin Foundation. And the reason is they want those other 5 billion people to be able to participate. There's nothing else that they want from this. And I think that that matters. And I think that we'll see as this kind of plays out what the groups behind these projects actually care about.
Okay, quickly, we mentioned 41 countries. Is the U.S. part of that rollout?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, good to know. Ken Asare, CEO of Litepay, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
U.S. is part of that rollout. Look at this guy. What a cool guy. And there's going to be some people online, on Twitter, Reddit, wherever. Why did he say what he said? Don't invest. What is that all about? Just look deeper is all I can say to you. Look deeper into what's going on. Look deeper into the market share numbers that he's talking about. We haven't even begun this movement of cryptocurrency. And, guys like this are a huge integral part of the success of crypto, the success of Litecoin. And as more and more people start seeing things like Litepay and Litecoin being used in business, Litecoin is going to gain a lot of attraction. There are going to be a lot of people buying Litecoin, and same goes for any other cryptos that are making big moves and making waves in this space. Because, like he said, it is comparable to the 90s and the internet. And just with that simple illustration, the correlation that is there, you can pretty much assume and you can pretty much see the potential when it does come to investing. This isn't investment advice. I'm just saying, outsider looking in, obviously cryptocurrency has a ton of potential, but also carries a ton of risk. But let's keep following and focusing on the technology because it's the foundation to success. It's the foundation to revolutionizing payments and revolutionizing the way we do things without these third parties involved. So let me know your thoughts on this interview. I thought it was a great interview. Ken seems like a really cool guy. Let me know your thoughts and if you agree, disagree with what he said. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Love having all you new subscribers on board. Love talking with all of you. Thank you so much for coming by. I'll see you on the next video, and God bless.